we are standing on wheat walk lands. We honor the wheat walk people, those who are still living, and those ancestors, whose spirits still bless this place. We acknowledge that this land is safe. Through our intentions, we continue to seek to make blessing to this land. So as we gather and welcome, you have to know, we didn't grow up here, and you know, First Nations peoples, where you did grow up. They invite us to offer their needs to our circle as we go. We grew up next to the Yakima Nation in Eastern Washington.
They grew up in the Dakota Sioux. Okay.
We also honor the native European peoples, Celtic peoples of the British Isles as well. All indigenous beings all over the earth. We bless the land. And so today we're going to flow with the land and the water, and our ritual will be a little bit different in terms of our order. We are still going to do prayers of the people, but we're going to incorporate them into our ritual with the following leaves. We'll get to that part on the slate. We're going to write what we want to acknowledge that needs healing on our leaves and drop them into this beautiful, incredible hand-carved bowl. And we'll also get to name them out loud as part of our prayers. So we're also going to have a ritual of release and then a ritual of calling in the strength of the ancestors today. So it'll be a little bit different than just our typical service. But some of the things we're going to do will be the same. So again, we welcome everyone to Fairfax Community Church, and we are so grateful that Manoush is with us this morning as well. Good morning, Manoush. Good to see you.
Good morning.
Thank you for your patience, and we want to honor Manoush's painting of the 13 grandmothers. You'll notice is at the near the end of your bulletin today, and at the end of our service, we'd love to hear a little more from you about that painting, Manoush, because it fits with our honoring of the ancestors today, which is so beautiful. So for everyone who's on Zoom, we welcome you and welcome us all to this time. So as we come together and honor the land and the peoples, we also want to honor the 4 directions, which, as we know, is a sacred indigenous practice. And so to get us in the spirit of that, I invite us, as you're able to first just stand and also welcome our bodies to this space. And so as you're able to just take a moment and stretch up, feel yourself tall. Ooh. And feel yourself like a tree reaching up to the sky and the heavens, and feel your roots going down in the dirt. And then pop yourself open and feel yourself expand. And then wrap yourself up. Just a little hug and wherever you need it. And then slowly, as you're able to let go, just gently kind of hang and drop your head and just swing a little bit like you've got an elephant in a trunk. And anything else you want to let go of, just gently give it back to Mother Earth. Let slide around. Feel your flexibility. You don't always think you're very flexible. How flexible you think we are. And just wherever your spine needs to move, think of all the great things that are connected to our spine. Take a moment to move the body, spirit incarnate in the body. Invite us to take a deep breath and let it out on the side. So then take a deep breath. Put it out on the side. One more time, take a deep breath. Put it out on the side. Do you have anything else you can do? Okay, so I invite us then to take your bulletin and we will start east, south, west, north. And invite us to stay together. And those of you at home, invite you to stand. And if you know your directions, you can go at a quarter turn each way. And if you don't know your directions, you can go a quarter turn each way. And we will invoke and bless the elements and the directions. So starting in the east, let's say this together. Gratitude to the east and to air, bearing the soaring swift and the silent owl at dawn. Breath of our soul, clear spirit breathes. In our minds and hearts we honor you, so be it. Gratitude to the south and to sun fire, blinding, pulsing light through trunks of trees, through mists, warming caves, where bears and snakes sleep. In our minds and hearts, we honor you, so be it. Turning to the west. Gratitude to the west and to water, clouds, lakes, rivers, glaciers, holding or releasing, streaming through all our bodies, salty seas in our minds and hearts. We honor you, so be it. Now turn it to the north. Gratitude to the north and to Mother Earth and to her soil, rich, rare, and sweet. In our minds and hearts, we honor you, so be it. And then turning to the center and just kind of acknowledging the sky. Gratitude to the great sky, who holds billions of stars and goes beyond that, beyond all power and thoughts, and yet is within us. In our minds and in our hearts, we honor all the wonders of creation, so be it. Okay, so you may want to stay standing. You can sit if you want, but you might want to stay standing because we got a little groove going on. Anusha, I know you got a groove in there too. And Hope. All right. And so this is a song we've done before. It's kind of a fun little ancestor song. It's by Maggie Whitehouse from Many Faces. She's on Friends for a while. And it goes like this. I walk in the spirit, I walk in the light. I walk through the darkest hours of night, and I call on my ancestors to my left and my right to walk with me, to walk with me. I walk in the spirit, I walk in the light, I walk through the darkest hours of night, and I call on my ancestors to my left and my right to walk with me, to walk with me. I walk in the spirit, I walk in the light, I walk through the darkest hours of night, and I call on my ancestors to my left and my right.
the darkest hours of night, and I call on my ancestors to my left and my right to walk with me, to walk with me, to walk with me, to walk with us. Ashe, Ashe. And welcome, benevolent ancestors. Guide us in this space and in this service today. Amen. So as you are so moved, feel free to sit. And we'll transition from here actually into receiving our sacred texts, the Shema and the text from the Gospel of John. And then we have the poem again that we did just a few weeks ago, Calling the Spirit Back by Joy Harshaw. She is a Native Indigenous woman herself. And when we did it before, we did an excerpt of it. I kind of took the middle out, but this time I included the entire poem because it acknowledges also kind of the struggle as well as the blessing in our lot to bring transformation to the world and call our Holy Spirit back. And this is the poem where she talks about the council fire, that we are gathered around the council fire and the guardians of our soul. And in our own release and our own forgiveness, we call our spirit back, and then we work for the transformation of the world. So we're going to have a little more time deepening with the full aspect of that poem today. So does someone want to sing the Shema this morning? Thank you, Joy. Does someone want to read the John passages? Okay. And I've asked Cindy actually to read the poem. Do you want the microphone? And we can pass it around.
Shema Israel, Adonai Elohim, Adonai Elohim. Shema Israel, Adonai Elohim, Adonai Elohim.
Sacred text number 1, John chapter 20, verses 19 to 23, chapter 21, 15 to 7 and 19. I'm reading sacred text 1 from John. When it was evening on that day, the first day of the week, and the doors of the house where the disciples had met were locked for fear of the Jewish authorities, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." After he said this, he showed them his hands and his side. Then the disciples rejoiced when they saw the Lord. Jesus said to them again, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, so I send you." When he had said this, he breathed on them and said to them, "Receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive the sins of any, they are forgiven them. If you retain the sins of any, they are retained." When they had finished breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" He said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus said to him, "Feed my lambs." The second time he said to him, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" He said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus said to him, "Tend my sheep." He said to him the third time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter felt hurt because he said to him the third time, do you love me? And he said to him, Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you. Jesus said to him, feed my sheep and follow me.
For calling the Spirit back by Joy Harjo. Put down that bag of potato chips, that white bread, that bottle of pop. Turn off that cell phone, computer, and remote control. Open the door, then close it behind you. Take a breath offered by friendly winds. They travel the earth, gathering essence of plants to clean. Give it back with gratitude. If you sing, it will give your spirit lift to fly to the stars' ears and back. Acknowledge this earth who has cared for you since you were a dream. Let your moccasin feet take you to the encampment of the guardians, who have known you before time, who will be there after time. They sit before the fire that has been there without time. Let the earth stabilize your post-colonial insecure jitters. Be respectful of the small insects, birds, and animal people who accompany you. Ask their forgiveness for the harm we humans have brought down upon them. Don't worry. The heart knows the way, though there may be high-rises, interstates, checkpoints, armed soldiers, massacres, wars, and those who will despise you because they despise themselves. The journey might take you a few hours, a day, a year, a few years, 100, 1,000, or even more. Watch your mind. Without training, it might run away and leave your heart. Do not hold regrets. When you find your way to the circle, to the fire kept burning by the keepers of your soul, you will be welcomed. You must clean yourself with cedar, sage, or other healing plants. Cut the ties you have to failure and shame. Let go the pain you are holding in your mind, your shoulders, your heart, all the way to your feet. Let go the pain of your ancestors to make way for those who are heading in our direction. Ask for forgiveness. Call upon the help of those who love you. These helpers take many forms: animal, element, bird, angel, saint, stone, or ancestor. Call your spirit back. It may be caught in corners and creases of shame, judgment, and human abuse. You must call in a way that your spirit will want to return. Speak to it as you would to a beloved child. Welcome your spirit back from its wandering. It may return in pieces, in tatters. Gather them together. They will be happy to be found after being lost for so long. Your spirit will need to sleep a while after it has bathed and given clean clothes. Now you can have a party. Invite everyone you know who loves and supports you. Make a giveaway. Then you must do this. Help the next person find their way through the dark.
Such a beautiful, beautiful poem. We could probably just end there without any further elaboration. Because Joy Harjo really says it all. I want to give just a little further elaboration so that we can deepen our understanding and then have our own ceremony around the council fire here. Calling in the guardians of our own soul, our guides, our ancestors, to help be part of the healing and transformation of the world. And so we will do that. And as we know, this is a particularly potent time to do that. Because it is said this is the time when the veil between the worlds is thin. Now, as you may know, that phrase is usually used to one, refer to the veil that separates sort of the ordinary physical world from what is sometimes called the other world or the world of spirit. And in this season, it's said to be less opaque, so that more can actually cross back and forth between. And that includes the wisdom, the help, the guides of the ancestors. And as we use that term, as I'm using that term here today, it's both our own individual ancestors, those who have passed on in our own bloodline, but many also include the notion that it's also our spiritual ancestors. It's also part of the collective unconscious. It might include the wisdom and guidance of those that may not be in our particular bloodline, but that are still out there to support us. We can connect with them more deeply in this time. And we might need to do a little releasing, a little forgiveness of ourselves and others and society as a whole in order to bring in the new birth, the new creation, the transformation we want to see in the world. Joy Harjo talks about this so beautifully in her poem, that the two go together. We have to forgive ourselves, we have to forgive each other, and call our spirit back in order to do the work that we're called to do in the world. Part of that process, I believe, is two-sided. It is both the lament, the honoring, the naming, the pain, and then letting it go. In our liturgical tradition, we would actually call that to confess. We would use the word confess. Right? But that word has become so loaded within mainstream Christianity, unfortunately, because we've been taught that it means that we're confessing that the core of us is bad or evil, that there's something wrong with us. And as I've talked about before, I just think it's worth mentioning every single time, that that's more about the doctrine of original sin. The doctrine of original sin says the core of us is bad, and that we have to constantly kind of work to undo that. But I don't believe Jesus believed in the notion of original sin. It wasn't around in his day. Judaism doesn't have it. It wasn't developed as a doctrine until hundreds of years into Christianity. So that's not what I see when I look at Jesus. Instead, there's the simple word sin with a small s, which, as we know in Greek, means simply to miss the mark. It's just an action, not a state of being. It's stuff we do. It's when we mess up. We're trying to hit a target, but we miss, darn it. And so then we confess that. Oops, sorry. That's the thing I did that missed the mark. And then we reset. We receive forgiveness and we forgive each other, and then we can reset and go on. But something about this naming, I think, is part of the process of healing so that we can also receive forgiveness and forgive each other. And to me, this was one of Jesus's biggest contributions to all the world religions. He had a lot of contributions, as we know, but one of them is all the world religions kind of up until then really focused on karma in one way or another. Even there was kind of an own version in it within Judaism, right? That all of our actions automatically set in motion another set of reactions, and those are set in time through generations, that we can't change our karma. I believe one of the messages of Jesus was that we can absolutely change our karma. We do it through forgiveness. Because with forgiveness, that thing is able to let go and be like a leaf that falls to the ground and decomposes so that something else new can come of it. And that actually has ripple effects for future generations. We can create a new reality. It doesn't have to be stuck in the pain of the past. And to me, in these chapters in John 20 and 21, Jesus is both modeling forgiveness and teaching about it and talking about the new way of being that he wants to bring in the world. Now, I know we've talked about John 20 before because it comes up every year on the Sunday after Easter. But I want to just highlight it again a bit here today as part of this context. And so we know that the disciples, after Jesus' crucifixion, were scared for good reason. They were locked in a room for fear out of this huge, traumatic, unjust event that had happened, right? Jesus walks through the walls. Now we notice that these are the same disciples who abandoned him, who deserted him at the cross in his time of need. They all fell asleep first, then they left. Then Peter denied him 3 times publicly, right? These are the same group of disciples that are huddled and locked in a room out of fear. Now Jesus walks through the door and we notice what he doesn't say to them. He doesn't say to them, "Where were you when I needed you? Thanks a lot. Got to get that off my chest first." That's not what he says. What's the first thing that he says to them? "Peace be with you." And then he breathes on them and offers that peace and invites them to actually receive it into their bodies. He practices forgiveness with his very presence. Then he teaches them about the metaphysics of forgiveness in this line that's often controversial. When he says, "If you forgive the sins of any, they are forgiven them. If you retain the sins of any, they are retained." I don't think he's saying that he's giving the disciples special powers to forgive some people and not forgive others. I think he's teaching them, this is the metaphysics of forgiveness. This is how forgiveness works. If we hold on to a hurt or a pain in the past, we are still bound by it. It is bound in time and space. It is retained. If we forgive, really forgive and let go, it is released. It then can work towards transformation and we are free. We are free. So we can be a new people. Both of these contexts come in the context of the resurrection. There's no accident there. Because as we release and forgive, we can be reborn as a new people. That's how forgiveness works. Now, it doesn't mean forgiveness is easy. It's not always quick. It's a big trauma. Sometimes it takes years. It may be a process. It also doesn't mean that we don't also set boundaries. Sometimes we have to set boundaries if there's someone or something that's not healthy for us and we have to forgive from far. There's a lot to this notion of forgiveness. It's not easy or quick. But I do believe it's a key ingredient in Jesus' teachings that gives us clues about transformation and how to bring new life into the world. And we see that again then in John 21. The context is still after the resurrection when Jesus is making appearances to the disciples and he meets them on the beach and they have breakfast. And then Jesus utters these 3 odd questions to Peter. "Peter, do you love me?" "Yes, you know I love you." "Peter, do you love me?" 3 times. Peter denied him 3 times. I think Jesus is giving him the opportunity to reset that 3 times, to undo it. Because I think Jesus knows that Peter could have held on to that for the rest of his life. If I were Peter, I would be beating myself up for that every single day. But Jesus knows that if he does that, Peter can't be the leader in the early Christian movement he needs him to be. He needs Peter to forgive himself as well, so that he can move on and do the things he needs him to do. And that leads to this second phrase, feed my sheep. He's saying, then take that love and move it forward. Nurture those in need, carry on my ministry. That's what I need you to do. Take the torch from me and bring it forward. And that's why he ends with, follow me, do as I do. Which is about, as we know, also bringing justice, light, healing, transformation to the world. That's part of the work of Jesus and his ministry. Which, as we know, is both inner and outer work, isn't it? It's the work of inner forgiveness, forgiving ourselves and society, and then it's also taking that love out into the world. I came across this great quote last week by Reverend Angel Kyoto Williams. And she says, love and justice are not two, they are one. Without inner change, there can be no outer change. Love is the fire that burns down the structures that oppress people and degrade the planet. Justice is the phoenix that rises from those ashes. So as we love, we lament and we let go. And that's part of the cycle that helps bring new life and new change. And that's where the ancestors come in, because they can help us with that. They can be spirit guides and wisdom guides for us. And it may also mean that we need to forgive some of the ancestral lineages for the mistakes they made when they missed the mark, doing the best that they knew how to do in their lives. So that we're kind of stopping the ancestral cycles that go on. That may be in our bloodline, it may be in the collective unconscious. And we may have ancestry that is both part of the oppressor and the oppressed, as we know. We're all kind of walking paradoxes. And as we name some of those things, we can help bring healing and awareness to them, right? To try and make it different. One example from my own life is my sort of spiritual ancestry with John Calvin. I'm really hoping that we're not related, to be completely honest with you. But I've had this love challenge relationship with him and the lineage that he created my entire career. I've spent my career trying to bring reform to the institution of the church and the Presbyterian Church. I drove my Calvin professor crazy in seminary because I was constantly wrestling with everything. But we noticed that he has both sort of the good and the bad within what he brought. What's good about John Calvin? He created a democratic form of government that was brand new in its time. And it's the root of the democratic form of government in all the Protestant Reformed churches, including the UCC at its root. And it influenced the US democratic form of government. It was based on the egalitarian spiritual belief that we are the priesthood of all believers. That's really cool. Downside, he also helped perpetuate cultural, ethnic cleansing in a way by sending all his pastors back to the British Isles and telling them to squash out any Gaelic culture that they found through art or music or language or dance, and instructed them to melt down organs and smash guitars and forbid people from carrying on the culture because it was too pagan. That may have even sparked part of the seed of what then European immigrants brought to the United States and have given us part of the idea of what we did to Native Americans here in the Americas. It's part of those seeds we're trying to root out so that we can name them, look at them, bring the light of healing to them, and then ask for spirit and God's guidance to transform them. And I believe we need community to do that. It's too big for any one of us to hold. Our own ancestral lineages are too big for us to hold. When I try and hold that in my own body, I feel crushed by it. And that can be so when we listen to the news, when we know what's going on, right? If we just try and hold it in our own individual body, we can either feel crushed or depressed, or we may just shift into apathy because it's just too big, we don't know what to do. But in these kinds of sacred circles, we can hold it together. We can give it to God together and ask for Spirit's help. And on an energetic level, I believe that actually does make a difference in the larger collective and the larger collective unconscious. But then we also get to ask for the wisdom and help from the ancestors, for the strength and wisdom of the ancestors who have a lot of guidance and good wisdom to give. And in this time when the veil is thin, we can receive help and even messages from them. So today I want to give us an opportunity to kind of create the council fire that Joy Harjo talks about in her poem. First, by honoring whatever we want to bring healing to, whatever the lament is. It might be an area of healing in your own life, because there can be more than one leaf. And I encourage us to write down something that might be part of the collective that we want God to hold so that we don't hold it ourselves. And so I've got some paper leaves, and I'm going to invite us to write them down on the leaves. And then when we're ready, as part of our prayer time then, to drop them in the blue bowl as a way of giving them back to Mother Earth. And literally imagine them like leaves falling into the ground, disintegrating with the water and the rain. And then we're going to cleanse ourselves with cedar and sage, just like the poem. And then after that cleansing, I'm going to invite us to do another ceremony where we actually draw an angel card and ask for the wisdom and guidance of our ancestors to give us strength and hope, and spend a little time with that and notice what messages Spirit gives us. So I'll invite us to take a few moments now then and to think about what you might want to bring people into. And I'll invite you to, you can pick a few leaves, however many leaves you want. And if you at some point want to write down any messages you get, there's paper pens there too. And we'll spend a few moments just thinking about what do you want to release and let go of to bring healing to it. That's the confession, the lament. Not personal confession necessarily, but we're just saying what is. And then, like I said, we'll have time to release together to receive. And obviously, if you're at home, feel free to just write this down on a piece of paper. I did send a coloring page of a leaf or draw it in the shape of a leaf or anything. And we'll include you in that too. What we want to let go of the lament, sort of what we want to bring healing to, what we want to bring healing to.
So I want us to name the leaves that we're able to name out loud. And to form them however we want to in some sort of event.
they're giving them to God and to Mother Earth, so that we don't have to hold them. And after dropping them in the bowl, we will say together, God will grace, and still say together, hear our prayers. And so I do release, drop, let go, and ask, loving, gracious God, may you hold the side of the legacy of John Calvin that has been detrimental to the indigenous peoples of Europe and the Americas. Help us to heal, let go, transform. And loving God, I ask you to hold and heal the trauma of indigenous peoples in this country. When so many churches were part of sending them off reservation land to live in boarding schools, stripping them of their culture and their heritage, separating them from families. And to the beloved tribes of the Yakama Nation in Eastern Washington and those boarding schools and the trauma that is still left. And the people who live in Tompkinish, Washington on the reservation there. I ask for healing, hope, renewal, strength, courage. And for those of us who have been part of the systems that perpetuated that violence, forgive us. God have mercy and forgive us. God give us, hear our prayer. My sister's not doing well. She is always in hospice. Last time I talked to her, she said, "Do you really love me?" And I said, "That's true. You know it." And then she said, "Do you really love me?" I said, "Yes, Jean, I do, even after all we put each other through." And she said, "Yes, do you really love me?" And I say, "Jean, we are one." And the thing that I want you to look at and get rid of is can't be done. Fear, negativity isn't worth it, and it won't work. God of grace, God of your grace, you hear our prayers. And if there's prayers you don't want to say out loud, you just want to drop the leaves in the bowl in silence and then say, God, grace you, Lord, that's fine. Your grace, you hear our prayers. God, love and forgiveness, I ask you to release the pain
caused and endured by my entire lineage, and carried in some ways by me. I include my father in this, with whom I had an amazing experience on Friday. And I feel that I have forgiven him. Maybe so, and he feel it. And I release my own guilt and pain that has brought me through many lives. May I relate to release it all on this one. God, in your grace.
You hear our prayers.
Spirit, I call upon you to help me release the lack of self-love that has been passed down through generations and carried on as results in different ways in relationship to other people here and what surrounds me in my life. Please help me release that and carry on in a good way. God, in your grace.
You hear our prayers.
For myself, may I let go of deep despair that happens when I'm isolated. May I let go of quieting my very loud heart. May I let go of not fully reaching out and receiving. And may I let go of not opening to a deeper love. And for the collective, may we let go of harsh judgments, past hurts, the story of despair, and forgetting the love of connections. God, in your grace,
You hear our prayers.
God, I ask in your grace that I and others who have been raised like I have been are cleansed and forgiven for the stereotypes that have been carried on through generation after generation of our families. The stereotypes that create distrust, hate, and all the things that we do when we are filled with those things. And that brings us to, please clear us the intolerance that the stereotypes have created, and the intolerance that allows us to keep those stereotypes. Intolerance with ourselves, which keeps building and preventing us from doing your will, that keeps us in our heads and in the will that we've been taught, the will we have lived. And lastly, the impatience, total impatience with ourselves and everyone else. That all of these things culminate in. It simply strips us of all of our power to think about, much less listen to you, Lord. In your grace,
You hear our prayers. Spirit, always with us. Forgive me the times I doubt you. And forgive me the times when I should have done things and didn't. And the times when I did do things that I shouldn't. God in the place, you hear others.
We also want to offer, if there's anyone on Zoom that wants to make a prayer out loud, and if you wrote something down, you might want to crumple it up or rip it up or let it fall like a leaf, and we invite you to share anything that you would have to share with us.
Can you hear me?
I think where can you, are you muted? No?
I'm not muted. I don't know.
I hear you, so maybe something at the church.
Hi, Manus.
Good morning.
I hear you too.
Oh,
I hear you too. Hi, Manoush. Hi, Casey.
good morning.
Good to share this with you.
Yeah.
Where did everybody go?
We're going to give you a moment. If there's anything you want to say out loud to each other on Zoom. And when you finish that, give us a little wave.
Okay. All right. So I'll go ahead and share. Great Spirit, I call upon you to help me release my judging of people who are different from me, with different beliefs, customs, ways, as I'm here in my childhood bedroom in my homeland of Central Illinois with very different ways. I see and celebrate the love I can find underneath the differences. And when I feel arrows of judgment coming my way, I bend them, returning them as arrows of kindness, of respect, of open-hearted curiosity, of love. God, in your grace.
You hear?
Beautiful. Beautiful. I have a silent prayer, so I'll keep it close here to me. But love you all.
Love you, God, in your grace. You hear Holy Spirit.
Gave it to me. And I've used it for years. The vultures.
Manu, do you want to say anything?
They take
I'm just
what is
going to hold
known
the
as
prayer up
and
and
literally
say,
transform it
your good
into
heal the prayers.
So in indigenous traditions, they're actually part
You're
of
cutting out, I'm
the
afraid.
land.
Sorry.
And they go,
Okay?
because they can guide us, they're not afraid of death. And they can easily guide us to birth. And so I want you to just, it's customary, as you may know, this is an indigenous tradition, to believe that the plants, and the smoke from the plants helps cleanse whatever we want to release. And so it's customary to just do something like this, or just to open your hands, or just something like this, if you'd like to receive it. And I will just walk around and practice and feel yourself being cleansed.
Presence of nature that helps transformation. Receive the Savior and be saved. And we will be. And the sound of the vibration, the drum itself, helps cleanse the brain, helps cleanse our bodies, gaining access again to our earth. Helps. And then we'll add a part of the liturgy that I do want to lift up and hold from so many of our mainline church traditions, and that's then the public declaration of forgiveness, which is already true, but sometimes it helps us to remember it. And it is simply this: friends, believe and receive this good news of the gospel. In Jesus Christ, we are free. And so as part of our beautiful letting go, we have this special treat from Chris and his music. And this song, as you may know, if you've heard it, is so incredibly powerful. I've been singing it all week long. It's just stayed with me all week long. And in these rains that we're having, we can just really imagine the letting go with the waters, with the washing, and literally let the music wash over us as part of the healing and part of the transformation.
The storm has just passed, yet my body still remains full of the water that has fallen out. And as it seeps through my body, it is leaking through my skin. I'm a mountain, but there's no more I can go in. I'm a mountain, but there's no more I can go in. Inhale and exhale. So I'm letting water I've collected, it will feed me through the spring. Yeah, I know what comes next will be the courage. For the rest of this winter, my practice it will be. If the rains they keep coming, to let that water run through me.
invite us to take a deep breath. Let it out on the side. And just feel the rhythm and the grace and the spirit that has just been immersed through Chris's music and his guitar, his voice, and his soul. And we receive that as an amazing gift of grace. Thank you so much. Such a tremendous gift to all of us. And it's a gift that keeps on giving because we keep singing all week long. Just like I did last week. Now to God, singing all morning. I literally invite us to receive that, to take another deep breath. And drink it in and exhale, and release, and feel that rhythm of letting go, just like the waters, just like Chris's song. Let it flow through us. We don't have to hold all this stuff. We don't have to hold it. God, Spirit, Community wants to hold us with it, so that we can transform it. And so, as we release and let go, the good news is we get to then be part of the rebirth, right? And the new growth. And the other good news is that all our ancestry isn't bad or evil or depressing or dark, right? We also have ancestors that, thank you, have incredible strength and resilience, right? We think about what some of our ancestors went through, and they prevailed, and they stayed together, and they stayed in community. And the indigenous ancestors of this land that still want to actually help us and guide us, and help us to find a better way. So we also then honor the blessings of the ancestors. And this is a native little basket that you may know lives at the church, and it's full of little angel cards. And so we bless it and invite you to just kind of intuitively see, okay, which card is going to be best for me today, and to ask your ancestors to help you, and our spirit guides and guide and to draw a card that maybe has a message for you today that will help give you strength and encouragement. For those of you on Zoom, you can spend a moment in silence and see what word the ancestors want to give you. And let us just take a moment in silence, contemplating your special word, and if there's any particular wisdom the ancestors want to share with you or nurture you with the word, or anything else that may come from the ancestors.
So I'd like to share, just because my card made me smile, and my card is humor. And what a wonderful healing balm is humor. Being a nurse in various settings, humor was really important in coping. And I think I've heard that from so many folks, and it's true in my very long relationship, that humor comes in handy.
Yeah.
So I love it. I think humor is grace. I think it's just a wonderful and life-affirming thing. It can be used cruelly, granted, in certain ways. People label that humor. You know, I just think of it splendor, how marvelous it is to just bubble out of people in this support.
I love. You ready to put love?
Yeah,
So perfect. We have the antidote to stand in guilt and face forgiveness.
Great. So, Lynn got love, which is the antidote to everything else we've been talking about. Yeah, amen.
I got open.
Openness. Great. We're gonna try one more way to see if we can hear you. If you go off mute.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Hi, friends. Okay, well, I will say the words that come to me are release and equanimity. I remember asking Ram Dass once about equanimity, and the image he gave me was of a flame, a candle flame that is steady even with the winds. And as I can see through the windows there, the winds whipping about, because I'm in Illinois right now. I think of that steadiness even amidst the storm. It's so beautiful to see you all.
Thank you, Casey. Good to have you with us.
Good to be here.
And Hope, or is Manoush still with us? Shoot, okay. Well, and if you don't want to say anything, Hope, that's fine. It's good to see you, Casey. And looks like Manoush had to log off. But we do want to honor Manoush's 13 Rounders painting. And if you didn't get a chance to look at the story or the links, I sent those out on Friday. And you may know the story. She kept getting this message that she was supposed to paint peacemakers, and she didn't know what that meant. And it finally led her on a 3-year journey to discover that there are these 13 indigenous grandmothers across the globe who all have handed down this prophecy that there would be 13 indigenous grandmothers holding this place for peace, and each of them came into the knowing that they were one of the 13, and they all found each other and created this literal council that works on behalf of world peace. And so Manoush ended up, I mean, her story is more, she can tell it better than I can, but she ended up painting this giant mural of the and now we get to just be in candlelight and battery. Yay! So anyway, we just want to honor Manoush and her spiritual wisdom of the ancestors while we're and I'm sorry she had to go off, but you can look at that more on your phone. And she has prints of all of her paintings available online as well. And so I invite us as we close, I know this is a little bit, I was hoping we would have a little bit more time to just listen for the wisdom of the ancestors and find out what we want. I know we've gone over today. So what I just invite you to do is take your word home and to spend some time in the next week in silence, communing with your beloved ones, because this is a time when messages come through really powerfully in our dreams. Sometimes even just in journaling, if I sit and get enough quiet time, my grandmother will just come right in my lap and like give me a message. So they're really close in this next week. So I invite us to take some time in silence in your own home. And they're usually happy to give us their strength and wisdom and guidance. So I invite us to say this closing prayer, maybe to well, we can do it. Oh, and to just say this closing community prayer as a way to honor them and bring their wisdom forward. The community prayer by Joyce Rupp. Beloved ancestors, we say this together. Beloved ancestors, your presence stretches back through the ages. It touches and influences the deep part of each of us today. Your strength sings in our spirits, your courage abides in our hearts, your resilience resonates in our bones, your love abounds in our souls. May we remember how connected we are to these enduring qualities. We offer gratitude for how the best of you continues to find life in us. May we take time to listen for your abiding messages of wisdom deep within our hearts. In grace and thanksgiving we pray. Amen. So as it is our practice, we are weaving in the ritual of the Thanksgiving basket. And if you would like to offer something, that's great. And if not, we can just kind of bless it. And sort of say just a prayer of gratitude and blessing as we pass the basket. And I'll let you guys pass it to each other. So we lift up our offering of thanks for this church, for this community, for our opportunity to be together. May all the offerings of our hearts and spirits and souls be blessed. In the name of Yeshua and Mary and all the many names of divine grace. Amen. And so as we close our circle, we also give thanks to the native ancestors of this place and the native ancestors and benevolent spirit guides and ancestors that we've called in. We thank you. Will you continue to guide us this week as we ask the fight? And from this place, and this time as we open the circle, Lord, from us, stay if you will, and will grow us. And we also honor and thank the directions: east, air, south, fire, west, water, north, earth, center, earth and sky, and heart. May you continue to guide and bless us in our gratitude for you. Go from us, stay if you will, and will us. And then that leads us to our closing circle. So since it's pouring down rain outside, I invite us to stand in a circle here. And you can just, in case you're in our circle and hope, inner circle. And so we'll sing all the way up from where we are right now. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Amen. May we go in peace to be healing and transformation in the world. Amen. Amen. And